Georgia at Mississippi State. Mississippi State 16-point home dog. Earlier in the year, I said Georgia's going down here. I'm sticking to it. Georgia is going down here. Now, Georgia's better than I thought they were going to be, but I'm sticking. Why would I not stick with my call? Wow, you said Mississippi State was going to beat Georgia and you were wrong. Don't care. I said they were going to go down here. They're going to go down here. Number one, it's such a bad spot. Like, they just had to prove it. Like, look at me, defending national champions. Back to boredom, right? We talked about this last week. Why was Georgia so pedestrian looking at times? Well, they won the national championship last year. They know like their peak. Why were they messing around with Kent State? Why would they almost lose at Missouri?
Bored.
They were bored. Also, I think that this is a decent matchup for Mississippi State in a couple different ways. First of all, it'll be the biggest test for Stetson Bennett in this offense from a passing perspective all year. You look at Georgia's two biggest tests this year against Tennessee and Oregon. Horrifying secondaries, right? Mississippi State has a pro corner and pretty good pass defense. They're also really good in the red zone on both sides of the ball. Mississippi State's number one red zone offense as far as converting trips into touchdowns in college football. Georgia's number one defense. So it'll be interesting who can score in the red zone, could decide this cover or this game. Mississippi State's defense has also been good in the red zone. But I think I think Will Rogers can have success throwing here with the quick strike passing offense against a Georgia defense that likes to run man, likes to get pressure. Mississippi State's offensive line has been great, and they just get rid of the ball so quick. There's a reason it's just not Georgia. This isn't a great matchup for Georgia schematically. There's a reason that in his second career start, Will Rogers went to Athens 2 years ago and was 41 of 52 for 340 yards. One touchdown, no picks. They were 26-point dogs. They lost by 7. It was a tie game in the fourth quarter. He will not be afraid. This will be a raucous environment. I like that Mississippi State also plays a methodical pace, unlike Tennessee. Limit the number of possessions for a bigger dog. And for what it's worth, since 2005, Leach is 16-7 against the spread as an underdog of more than 14 points. He is the most profitable coach when catching over 2 touchdowns over the past 25 years. That's over 400 coaches. And if you exclude Alabama, who just destroys him every game, he's 16-4 against the spread, 80% when catching over 2 touchdowns. This is the spot, the matchup, Mississippi State for me.
Yeah, I mean, everything you say actually leads me into a bet that I wanted to make the entire time, which is the under. And to beat the air raid, you have to be good in standard downs. And the Georgia defense is 5th in standard down success rate. And what we saw with them against Tennessee is that their safeties and corners moved up. They played man press coverage, and they jammed that stacked wide receivers on the outside. Mississippi State, it's going to be the same thing. The secondary is going to come up. They're going to jam targets for Will Rogers at the line of scrimmage. That's going to be a problem for Mississippi State to get some completions in their dink and dunk air raid offense. And then, Mississippi State, they have issues on defense. They're not generating a pass rush. They're allowing too many explosives. There are inefficiencies against the run. But then again, I like the under because Georgia may not be running that much because Kenny McIntosh might not be able to play. He sat out practices this week with a thigh bruise. Not sure if he's going to play here, which I think kind of leads into an under here also. And, if Georgia's bored and their defense is jamming, targets of Will Rogers on the other side of the ball, and there's limited possessions in this game, this is an underplay for me all the way.
Yeah, I mean, the way you beat Mississippi State's run defense has been poor this year, so we'll see if Georgia comes out with a rush attack. I mean, their secondary has been very good. And Mississippi State's kind of like a bend, don't break defense. They've been really good in the red zone. So we'll see if Georgia's red zone problems on offense sneak up here. But yeah, I don't mind the under in this spot for sure. But I mean, if they come out and play man, it'll be if they don't execute every single press correctly. Leach has so many man beater routes in his arsenal, which is why you've seen teams just get destroyed when they try to play man. Georgia, obviously, very talented and can do that against a lot of teams. But, that's why Rogers against the man in 2020 was 32 of 41 for 340. Just ball control, limit the possession. So, yeah, I don't mind the under. I think Mississippi State keeps this close. In all honesty, Georgia will pull it out. But I think Mississippi State can give them a scare.